Today I'm going to share with you two simple practices that have completely changed my prayer life. I first read them in John Mark Comer's book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Somehow, as followers of Jesus, we can make things more complicated than they need to be. We may at times attempt to discuss trendy or cutting-edge ideas about prayer. The important thing to remember is that above all, that we should pray because God commands us to. He wouldn't have commanded us to pray if it was complicated to do so. Matthew 26:41 is one example of us being commanded to pray. Keep watch and pray, so that you will not give in to temptation, for the spirit is willing, but the body is weak. I believe one of the greatest hindrances to prayer and meditation is our unwillingness to open ourselves to it. It's almost impossible to feel connected to Him when we're unaware of Him. We are so busy and hyper-focused on productivity that we miss the quiet moments with Him. We speed past pockets of alone time that would allow us to slow down and become more aware of His presence. Brother Lawrence said in his book, Practicing the Presence of God, He does not ask much of us, merely a thought of Him from time to time, a little act of adoration, sometimes to ask for His grace, sometimes to offer Him your sufferings, at other times to thank Him for the graces, past and present, He has bestowed on you. In the midst of your troubles, to take solace in Him as often as you can. Lift up your heart to Him during your meals and in company. The least little remembrance will always be the most pleasing to Him. One need not cry out very loudly. He is nearer to us than we think. Here are the two thought patterns that have completely changed my prayer life. Prayer is awareness of and connection to God. We must first open ourselves to the awareness that He's omnipresent. He's everywhere all the time. Not only that, but we must then accept our deep need for Him. We all have those days where we're like, I cannot make it without God, or what am I going to do? We all get there, and at that moment it can feel very helpless if we don't realize that we have someone who's there to help. I think oftentimes many of us complain that we don't feel connected to God. We say things like, I can't hear from God, or how do I know if I'm praying right? Or like, when is this going to start working? Like, when am I going to get some answered prayers? If we lean into this way of thinking, we now see that if we want to connect with God, we must first begin with becoming aware of Him. I want to say that God does work above and around all of our ways of thinking, including this concept. Like Paul on the road to Damascus, God gets our attention when He's ready to. I just believe that this way of thinking helps us as we daily practice the way of Jesus. We often spend more of our time thinking about all the things we don't do right. It's easy for me to let that recording play over and over in my head that I'm not good at prayer, I'm about to mess up again, does God really love me? All these negative thoughts that are oftentimes like a tape recorder just playing over and over and over. A huge breakthrough for me was the idea that I deeply need God's strength to become more like Him. I'm not naturally holy, flawless, and restored, as it says in Colossians. When I see that verse of holy, flawless, and restored, I really don't think of myself. But it's only through Jesus that I can claim promises like these. Without Him, I am weak, complacent, and stuck in sin. If I'm struggling to be aware of Him, I often ask Him to help me. I know that sounds crazy, like, I'm not aware of You, I'm struggling. God, help me to become aware of You. Help me to be more holy. Help me to be more like You. I can't even do that on my own. If I don't think I'm connecting, I'll humbly seek Him on how to do it better. He helps me be more like Him for His glory, so that others can see the love of Christ through me and through you. I do still believe there is personal responsibility in our prayer lives. We are to be diligent and do everything in our power to connect with Him. Our spiritual lives depend on it. We have to put in the effort. I simply wanted to balance out the truth that we equally need Him in order to live these things out. He empowers us, but He also wants to be a part of that journey as we grow in strength. I hope this simple truth helps you as much as it did me. The next time you don't feel connected to God, ask the simple question, have I positioned myself to become aware of His presence? Have I slowed down enough to allow space for God to move and speak in my life? Although it may feel unnatural at the beginning, the results of consistent prayer with God far outweighs the discomfort. No matter where you are in your journey, remember that prayer is one in itself. Don't get discouraged when you forget to pray or skip a few days. I do it all the time. I'll be there like I'm just on it. I'm praying. I'm 7 days in a row. I feel so good. And then I feel like I drop off the ledge for a few days or a week. But like that is okay. God is always there, ready to connect with you and help you with all that life throws your way. It can sometimes feel discouraging to get to those places where we say things like, I don't feel like praying. I don't even, talking about connection to God. I can't even barely make it through my day. That's okay too. Just remembering that when you're not feeling connected, it may not start with connection. It may start with that idea of awareness. Have I slowed down enough? Have I put down my phone enough? Have I taken some deep breaths or gone on a walk and said, God, make yourself known to me on this walk. Help me to hear from you. And even just sense your presence, even if it's not about hearing. Prayer isn't always talking. Sometimes it's just communing and dwelling and being with him in an intimate relationship. So no matter what day you're having, no matter what's going on, know that the door is always open. Even for the people that feel like they can't connect with God and they've done too many things wrong, I was there too. Know that he's there. He's standing at the door knocking, out of love, looking to reconnect with you so that you can walk on that journey together. I wanted to share with you about the release of my new book, Everyday Prayer. Oftentimes prayer feels unattainable and it feels out of reach, and I want to be the first to say this isn't like a 500-page theological work on prayer. My heart was to make prayer accessible, again, with simple and practical truths. The book really started out for me at a place of, I don't feel like praying. What do I do? How do I connect with God when I don't feel like praying? And if we're honest, even the most seasoned believers would say something like, there are days that I don't feel like praying. And so everyday prayer is a call into daily relationship with God. When we feel like it, when we don't, when things are going well, and when they're going bad. You can be one of the first to purchase Everyday Prayer at the links below. We put so much work into this book over the past 2 years, studying prayer, working with designers, working with printers to just make it the best possible book that it can be. I'm excited for you to get your hands on it and for it to be able to help you in your prayer life and your journey with God.